Satisfactory, then bring them in. I'll bring a jury in. Is that okay? Okay, bring them in. Everybody rise, please. I'm jealous you went salmon fishing.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Jealous.
We caught some beautiful trout. We had to put them
Yeah,
in rainbow trout.
that's right. Thank you. Have a seat. Record can reflect all our jurors have returned, and if I've not told you thank you today for your attention and working with me on this, I want to tell you thank you. I know it's a big sacrifice, but I think it's important, and I think it honors our country and our Constitution, and certainly honors the legal system. I've been involved with for a long time, and it means a lot to me. And so to see people like y'all take time out of your lives to be here and do justice for both parties here, I think that's a big deal. So thank you. I do appreciate it. All right, who's going to be our next witness?
Kevin Craig, Your Honor.
If y'all get to where you're running out of paper, just let me know, and we'll get you some more. We got plenty. Okay. Sir, if you'll step up here next to me, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. If you have a seat. If you'll tell me your first name and last name and spell them both for me, please.
My name is Kevin Craig, Kevin Craig.
And if you'll be sure and speak up so everybody can hear, that'd be a positive thing, all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you introduce yourself and tell us what agency you work for?
My name is Kevin Craig, and I'm a sergeant with the Oak Ridge Police Department.
How long have you been with Oak Ridge?
Since 2009. But prior to that, I worked there in 2004 as well.
Where did you work then?
Excuse me?
Where did you work then?
In 2004 with Oak Ridge.
Okay.
2005 to 2009, I worked in Steamboat Springs, Colorado Police Department.
Okay. And what are your current duties?
Currently, I'm the sergeant over Investigations Division.
What were you doing back in August of 2020?
August of 2020, I was a detective in the Criminal Investigations Division.
Could you describe some of your duties as a detective in the CID?
Investigate crimes. At that time, I was doing a lot of child abuse investigations. I'd also attended the National Forensics Academy in 2014, where I received 400 hours of training in crime scene investigations.
So as part of your training with crime scene investigations, some people are probably used to seeing CSI and things like that. Is that something you do, or you have a separate like CSI team to deploy to scenes?
The size of our department, we kind of wear many hats. So depending on the call or the case, we may be wearing the crime scene hat, or we may have the detective hat on.
So between August 5th and 6th of 2020, which hat would you say you had on for most of the events that occurred on those particular days?
The crime scene hat.
Okay. Could you describe to us how you became involved in an event that brought you into court today that happened between August 5th and August 6th, 2020?
Yeah, I was notified by my supervisors that we had a potential search warrant pending based on an investigation and a potential homicide case. I came in about 9:50 that evening. I wasn't needed on the onset, kind of gave me a break from just getting off work to coming back and being recalled, potentially working a crime scene all night. So I came back.
So what shift had you worked that day?
Day shift,
And what are the hours on that?
7 to 5 roughly,
So from about 5 to 9:20?
9:50.
9:50. Break.
Yes.
Feel refreshed?
I was ready to get in and help how I could.
All right. So you get the call, you're ready to go. What do you start doing when you get deployed?
We knew that we'd potentially have a search warrant for a residence, so we started getting a little kit together with different types of packaging, plastic paper bags, crime scene tape, make sure that the batteries on the camera were charged and memory cards and all that were good to go. So just kind of getting a little kit together to make sure we had everything we needed while we were there.
Do you know beforehand exactly what you'll need?
Not exactly, no, ma'am.
But you have sort of the go-to things that you assembled.
Yes, and I believe at that point too, we'd also had mentioned that TBI was potentially coming in with their crime scene employees to help us.
So you say to help us. Could you describe how that operates? What is this team type approach?
We usually divvy up tasks. So in instance, this particular night, I was in charge of the photography and taking possession of whatever we collected and then turning it over into our evidence system.
And is that something that, again, you do with ORPD and TBI?
Correct, yes.
So that wasn't unusual this thing. That is something, when TBI is called in, it's communicating and working together.
Correct, and a force multiplier where they have more numbers than we may have and they can help us out when we need the extra hands.
So on this particular night, you've described that you've put together your sort of collection go kit. What happens after that?
We're kind of in standby mode until the search warrant is executed, and then on this case, the SWAT team made the entry into the house and cleared it, make sure it was safe for us to go in and process. Once they cleared the residence, then we kind of started our process.
Could you describe how that worked?
Yes. Initially, we'll go in and do a scene survey, just kind of see the lay of the land, as you would say, see what we're dealing with. The next step after that would be photographing everything as it's found. And there's a process for that. When we do our photographs, we usually take a series of photographs, overalls, which gives you a general layout of the area that you're in, and it also lets you document like the condition of the area that you're in. And then once we locate items that are of evidentiary value, then we kind of move in and take a medium range photo, just to kind of give it an idea of where it's located within that scene. And then if we need to, we can go in to do close-ups. It's more of for examination purposes. If I could give an example. For instance, if you had a fingerprint that you had developed, a close-up picture would be something that you would take to scale, with a macro lens, to where you had all the detail of that fingerprint, to where you could potentially make comparisons. That's an example.
Okay. And is that the process you followed on this particular event?
It is.
You also talked about the photographs, and you said you were also integral there in collecting items. Do you get information that helps you determine what has evidentiary value?
Yeah, it's a team approach, so obviously we're there working the scene. I didn't talk to anyone, any of the witnesses or suspects. So I was getting information from the other case agents that had conducted those interviews that were directing us to items that could be of interest or that were covered under the search warrant, the scope of the search warrant.
And for somebody who's experienced maybe watching TV or none at all, could you describe the process involved in collecting specific items of evidence on the scene?
In general terms?
In general terms, and then we'll talk about specific to this case.
Okay. Depending on the item, if it's what size it is, you're going to want to put it in a bag. If the item's wet, you don't want to put it in plastic because that can mold and degrade the integrity of like DNA evidence. If it's dry, or I'm sorry, if it is wet, we could potentially hang dry it or place it in a paper bag to where it's porous and lets it breathe. Once we collect an item, we'll write a description on the outside of the bag, what item number it is that coincides with a property report or property receipt that we fill out for all the items that we see. Then we seal the bag with evidence tape and initial and date the seals.
So what happens to that evidence once you remove it from a location?
It gets turned over to our property section. In this instance, there was a property evidence tech, you could say, on scene that it was turned directly over to them, and they booked it into our secure evidence locker system.
And is there a way to track things in the secure evidence locker system?
Yes, all the items are barcoded, and if anything is checked out or checked in, then it's scanned in or out, and has to be a reason for why it's leaving or why it's being brought back.
And you discussed the evidence tape there. Could you describe how that's utilized in tracking, taking things in or out?
Yeah, it's to make sure nothing's been tampered with, or if it's checked out for a legitimate reason, like it needs further processing, then that seal, that item or bag is opened, and then it's resealed again, initials and date.
So initials of the person, the law enforcement officer who has directed this, or receiving the item back.
Correct, or the lab if it gets sent to the lab.
Yeah, so you just talked about that, like if it requires additional processing or use of the lab. And what lab would that be that you would generally send items to?
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations.
And do they communicate to you when they have results or when items need to be picked up or sent to them? There's a standard operating procedure for that?
There is, and they issue an official report when they're done processing whatever we've asked them to process.
Okay. So on this particular, these dates in question, do you remember the date and approximate time that you began actually processing this scene?
I believe the search warrant was executed after 4 a.m., closer to maybe 4:30. I want to say around 4:20-ish. So after, the SWAT team made entry and secured the scene, then that's when we shifted into CSI mode.
Could you walk us through specifically like how you entered the house and your observations and perceptions that you had when you arrived on the scene to begin your processing of it?
Yeah, when we do our initial scene survey, obviously you're looking for any potential hazards, whether it be environmental or biological, kind of getting an idea of what items that we discussed earlier, packaging wise, that we could potentially need. I myself kind of walk through the photography process of how I'm going to take the pictures. If there's any issues with that as far as like lighting goes, or and then once we do this scene survey, we have a pretty good idea of how we're going to move forward. Then we'll move to the photography stage where we're taking overall mid-ranges and potentially close-ups throughout the home or throughout the residence.
Now, when you started your walkthrough, and you talked about doing that, and then you start the documentation of it, when you walk through, is this before or after Ms. Paxton's body was discovered?
This was after the SWAT team had made the initial discovery.
So you're standing outside while there's the initial entry into the place, and the detective, the assigned detective goes in, and then you come into process after they've done their once over.
Yeah.
Sort of, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, you've been notified of at least that particular evidentiary thing that they want to document of the location of Ms. Paxton.
Correct.
All right. And so, from your understanding, when you go to document that particular location, have items been disturbed, or is this, again, initially after they're once over?
When I don't know if the SWAT team had moved things, when they did their safety sweep after making entry. But as I found it, that's how I document it.
Okay. And you said you took the photos. Have you reviewed photos that you took from this event?
I have.
And with the court's permission, I'd like to display these photos and have him walk us through this residence at 318 East Fairview.
Sure.
Did you find that the photos you took accurately reflected, to the extent light photography can, the observations that you made during your investigation?
Yes.
And if you need to stand up, or we need to bring you a different chair so you can look over at that.
I think I'll be all right.
Okay. Could you describe what this is?
This is the exterior of the home, the main, what I would reference as the front entry-exit door. This would be a mid-range of the front entry-exit door. This is showing relation of the staircase to the entry-exit door. Front porch furniture. Again, front porch furniture. This would be a mid-range of this fireball container that had some burnt items in it. This is as I'm entering into the home.
So let me go back and ask you a question. So you did those as you approach, and then this patio furniture, fireball bucket, this is to your left, is that accurate?
Yes. This is the main living area from the front door. When I do my overalls, I take photos. I try and take photos from the four corners of the room, so that way we're getting the entire layout from four perspectives. And then I'll work my way across the room from each corner. It's another main living area from the front door. Again, same, just showing the items that were on the floor that weren't in frame from the previous photos. Again, from the front door of the main living area. Mid-range of, there was an axe or a hatchet propped up there next to the nightstand or the end table. This is from the opposite corner of the main living area, shooting back towards the main front entry-exit door. Just panned over to the right just a little bit to show the couch and some of the fireplace. This was dining room table and contents. This is from the third corner, shooting back towards the entry-exit door. From that same corner, focusing back towards the kitchen area. Just panning on to my left to make sure I had everything documented. This was a utility closet that's in the living room close to the TV. A water heater. And just some maintenance items. Showing the upper shelf area of the same closet. Moving on through the living room, heading towards the kitchen. This is what I would call a coat closet that they're using for storage. And again, just the items that were located within the coat closet. And the return air duct for the heat and air. This is from the living room, say kind of more into the dining room towards the kitchen. Again, getting the area of the kitchen. Kitchen countertop and sink. I would call that the rear entry exit door. Microwave, stove, refrigerator.
Just kind of turning around.
Yes, it's a small room, so I'm trying to document everything with this series of photos. You can't really go to an opposite corner in this size of a room. Contents of the refrigerator. Contents of the freezer. I was working my way, was back basically standing at the front entry exit door, shooting up the staircase towards the second level. The top of the stairs, pretty much directly across, was the bathroom. This is down the hall from the bathroom, which is the door that's open in the right-hand side.
So if you're walking up the stairs, orient us of like which direction you're turning to the bathroom and go down the hallway and see the
Yeah.
bedrooms.
At the top of the staircase, you're looking pretty much directly straight across at the bathroom. And then you would, if you turn 90 degrees to your left, then you've got a linen closet there with the black knob. Straight ahead would be bedroom, and to the left of that would be what I call the master bedroom.
It's just stepping down the hallway.
Correct.
Closer toward those
Mhm.
bedrooms.
Here is from the hallway into the bathroom, shooting the contents that were on the vanity and commode. And then shooting towards the shower bath area. And then this was the linen closet that was just past the bathroom door on the same wall. Just documenting the contents on the shelves. This is standing from the hallway, looking into the master bedroom. Looking into the master bedroom from the doorway. I turn to the right slightly, I'd say about 45 degrees. And this is where the master bed and nightstands were. It's documenting what was found on the floor that wasn't in the previous frame. Again, moving, panning across the room from that corner, just trying to get everything into frame. Again, what's on the floor wasn't in the frame from the previous photo. And working my way back around to the left.
And what door is that for seeing?
That door there is the closet door. And then the floor in front of the chest of drawers. Then again, the chest of drawers, and I believe that was like a mini fridge, so it wasn't plugged in. I'm just using it as more of a storage container. This is looking basically from the foot of the bed back towards the closet area. And there is a stand-up freezer in the closet. Just the bottom of the freezer that wasn't in the previous frame. And the contents of the freezer. Contents of the freezer. Thermometer gauge that was in the freezer.
Was your perspective of when you were taking pictures, was this freezer operational?
It was operational. Due to the time, and the front door was open a lot, so it was humid this time of year. So it fogged up a little bit. This is looking from the closet back towards the bed. So the freezer would have been directly behind me. To get the perspective of the room from that corner. again, pan more to the right to show the door to the master bedroom. So the picture of the floor next to the bed and how the sheets were. And this was a photo of the footboard. Noted that the area rug, the nap on it had been depressed. It appeared that the bed had been recently moved or removed at some point from where it normally sits on the rug. And just the other side of the footboard. And noting some variation in where the footboard was located in relation to the condition of the carpet. Items on the nightstand. Like a medium range items on the nightstand. This is looking back across the bed from the area that nightstand's in. Again, panning to my left. Pan to my left again, back towards the closet and door area. Just reframed the same items. And I'm panning back towards my right. It's from the foot of the bed. Second overall photo of the nightstand, and then the sheets that's protruding from the underneath the bed. And then kind of more of a mid-range photo of that. Condition of the bed as found. And panning again to my right across the bed from this, I guess, would be the third corner I'm shooting from. So just getting the perspective from this corner back across the room.
Still panning to the right.
Correct. The contents that were on top of the nightstand. Again, the sheets coming from underneath the bed frame. Drop down a little bit lower so I could get a better perspective of what's in there. Noted the bed sheets and the black trash bag. Again, from floor level perspective. This was between the bed rail and the mattress support. And then here with the mattress removed off of the bed. Just a picture looking down through the bed rails and the mattress support. This was the mini fridge, the contents of it. It's a black courier style bag. Box of trash bags. Inside the courier bag was a section of chain and padlocks. That's the courier bag removed from, I will call it the mini fridge. And there was also a box for a key doorknob. And there's the box of trash bags removed from the mini fridge. This was the second bedroom. From the doorway, shooting in and panning to my right. Again, panning to the right. This is from to the right, as you enter the room to the right, shooting back towards the door in that corner. And then the closet and contents from that room. Another one of the contents, the closet. And contents. Nightstand. And the top of the nightstand. So after we did our initial scene photos, the way that we found it, and we talk with the other investigators. We determine items of evidentiary value. And once we do that, we'll go through and mark them with these tents or placards that are numbered. And then we photograph the items again. And this was the fireball container from the front porch. Some sheets, bedding. That was a choke or a pinch collar for a dog.
You can go ahead, we're just gonna try to get this plugged in.
Can I get a bottle of water? Thank you. More of a medium range photo of that same choke or pinch collar. Some leashes that were hanging on the wall in the living room just before you enter into the kitchen. A pillow from the master bed. Pillows from the master bed. This is marking the trash bags, the door lock box, and the courier bag. This was a lock box or safe that was found underneath the bed. The freezer that was in the master closet. 14 is a phone that was found on top of the nightstand. 15, that's all right. 15 was another phone that was found in that top drawer in the nightstand. Just a mid-range of those phones. 16, I believe, was the duct tape that was found in the, I call it the coat closet downstairs. And then a mid-range one. These are the vehicles that were found on the property. It's another picture of the vehicle from all sides. Second vehicle that was found on property. And all sides. This was another phone that was located inside the living room area in that bookshelf next to the sign there and the pill containers. A mid-range photo of it, and then another mid-range photo with the placard. This was the master closet after the freezer had been removed. This is the hallway looking from the master towards the second bedroom, the bathroom, staircase.
This is essentially walking back out after.
So these are our exit photos. So after we release the scene, or as we're releasing the scene, we document what condition we left the residents in case there's any question or concern that something had been damaged or something that was missing, something that had been taken that wasn't on the property receipt. So these are all exit photos, just walking out.
Go back a little bit.
Yeah. You can note on the dog crate there were copies of the search warrant and the property receipt forms were left. And then again, the condition of the living room. Same from a different perspective. Bookshelf area. Fireplace. Living room / dining room. And then back towards the kitchen area. And then again, painting through the room just so that all items are are documented. Excuse me, back towards the front door. And then the kitchen area. Again, the kitchen, refrigerator, sink area from the opposite corner. Again, panning to my right. And back out of the kitchen. And then leaving the front door. That was a picture of the damage done to the front door. The door
You said
jamb.
damage done to the front doors. You believe that was when they made entry?
Yeah, when the team made entry on the execution of the search warrant. Just documenting the damage to the door jamb. This was a vehicle after it had been removed from the residence, and a subsequent search warrant was authored and executed. The
Where did you find the registration to the vehicle?
Yes, registration listed it registered to Sean Finnegan.
Did you find anything else of evidentiary value that you seized from that vehicle?
No, ma'am. And the second vehicle, again, removed from the scene of the residence, search warrant authored and executed.
And who's the registration for that vehicle?
Bobby Brown,
Was that registration valid at the time?
I believe not. 8/31/19 was the expiration date.
Back up, registration is here. And this is the Buick registration.
Yes, Buick. Expiration on it was 12/31/20.
So that was a valid registration.
Correct.
So in the course of that, you took some pictures, had several placards. You take all of that. In this investigation or any investigation, and sometimes things end up having evidentiary value and sometimes they don't. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Did you find anything that was interesting or evidentiary value
We did.
in, well, first of all, let me ask about the second bedroom, spare bedroom that appeared to be Ms. Finnegan's?
Francis, I believe.
Finnegan. Did you find anything in there that you had seized?
No,
as
ma'am.
evidence in this case? But you did say you found evidence in other rooms.
We did.
Could you walk us through some of those items that you found that we saw some pictures of?
There was the bedding, there was the box of trash bags, the box for the doorknob with lock, the freezer, the courier bag that had the chain and padlocks in it.
Now, you talked about the things that you seized and the way that you do that with baggies and different types, paper bags and plastic bags and different ways that you do that. But you didn't say anything about the remains of Ms. Paxton. Is that something that your department or the police department deals with, the removing of remains from a location?
No, the body of Miss Paxton would fall under the jurisdiction of the medical examiner's office.
So that is not something that you altered or sent away. That was something that the medical examiner's office came and took care of, and
Correct.
you deal with other physical items.
Correct.
Okay. And in this case, you did have several physical items that you seized and put those into evidence as you described the evidence locker.
Yes, ma'am.
And have you removed those items and brought them to court?
I have.
I'm going to try to make this as efficient as possible and bring them over to you. We have brought them in advance. But while I'm getting that, if I could please move the pictures into evidence and state's collective exhibit. I believe that is number 17 or 18? 17.
So we're gonna do flash drive or?
I actually, have all of the physical photos. That way, if there's anything that anyone needs to use an individual photo, we can mark those individually without a separate sign.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, what's the number of that exhibit?
17.
Thank you.
I'll have to get some assistance getting this over there. We can make it more efficient when we walk them back and forth. Thank you.
Hey, John.
If you just want to see my photo, that's perfect. Could you identify this item, please?
This is a Samsung smartphone.
And was that an item that you seized from that scene and documented?
It is.
All right. If you would, please, if you want gloves, you can have them. If you want to put a sticker on that, I'd appreciate it.
Just anywhere.
Yes. Your Honor, please, I'd like to move this in as State's Exhibit number 18.
Do I need to write that?
She'll write it. Do you need scissors? Or do you have a knife?
I have a knife.
All right. I'm going to give you this item that is included in an envelope, so. Note for the record, the previous item is in a clear plastic baggie, so it can be identified through the baggie without opening it. And this item is in a manila envelope.
This is a second Samsung smartphone.
And is that, you recognize that as an item that you seized from Mr. Finnegan's room?
Yes.
We can reassemble that, and we'll have that marked as State's Exhibit number 19.
Judge, I'll just move the bulk in.
Another box. I've got, I think there's one in my chambers there. You can use that one, maybe a receipt there, but you can throw the receipt away, but it's a small box. So we can bring that in.
Could you identify that item for us, how it's labeled and
Black plastic fragment and tape. And what was the second part?
if you could just identify what this item is and then open that up for us.
Could I have some gloves?
I'm sorry.
Gloves. Oh. This was turned over from the Knox County Regional Forensic Center.
Is that the medical examiner's office?
Yes. Do you mind?
Yeah, if you need to stand up and expand that, please do.
black trash bag. How much do you want me to?
I think that gives an indication of what this is, and if you could display that for the jury, hold that up so people can see over here. We remove that in Exhibit 20.
Give me the gloves again.
You could identify the labeling on that envelope, please.
Gray sheet. Do you mind? Gray fitted shoe.
If we could hold that out. Soiling. You recognize the soiling on the sheets?
Yeah, it looks like.
Soiling. Does this appear to be the sheet that was protruding from under the bed?
Yes.
Among those? I'd like to move that as State's Exhibit 21, please. Could you identify what is on that envelope, please?
It's listed as a second gray fitted sheet.
Does this also appear to be sheets that you seized from the bedroom on that night,
Yes.
early that morning? Excuse me. Remove that as State's Exhibit number 22. you
was
identify this item, please?
black plastic bag victim was in.
Could you describe the condition of that fragment of plastic?
It's a ripped portion of a full black trash bag, and it has two holes in it.
And is that substantially similar to how it was recovered from the scene?
It is.
We move that in as State's Exhibit number 23. Could you identify this item, please?
Hefty trash bags.
We move that in as State's Exhibit number 24. Could you identify this item, please?
New hyper tough door lock set.
We move that in as State's Exhibit number 24. If you could please identify, it appears from the outset that that has multiple items, is that correct?
It does have 4 items.
Could you describe the contents of this box, please?
Showing, contains a choke chain, braided nylon leash, messenger bag, and a fireball container.
And could you identify, we'll go through each of these individually. The first bag that you,
This is labeled braided nylon, leash.
this indicates that we have a red and a pink leash.
Yes.
The state would move those in as collective exhibit number 27, 26.
And is it labeled 2 leashes?
And the bag is labeled two leashes.
Water gloves. Next bag is labeled choke chain.
If you need to step down to retrieve that. State would move that in as state's exhibit number 27, please. Fireball container with burnt papers / ashes. You want me to open all the way up? Yes, we can
Okay.
see. Yes, we can. State moves to enter that as state's exhibit number 28.
labeled messenger bag with chain and locks.
That goes to exhibit number 29. And there was another large item received. Did you seize the freezer?
We did.
And with some assistance, we can try to move that closer to the jury. If you could step down. Move this back slightly enough. If you could, sir, could you open that door for the jury and show the contents? Judge, jurors have permission if they cannot see from here to stand up.
Everybody can see it? We're good.
Your Honor, please, for purposes of evidence storage, we would identify this as the freezer that was seized, but we're not moving it into evidence. We're going to let the pictures of it and as it appeared at the scene suffice for the evidentiary record, but we did want give the jury the opportunity to see it as
I
demonstrated.
agree. Thank you.
And for purposes of the record, Your Honor, I believe that there is a picture of the freezer, multiple ones in collective exhibit number 17. So that's acceptable. We will count that. I'll pass this witness, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Did you say that you were there when the search warrant was served? When the SWAT team went in?
I was in the area, I wasn't at the
At the
door or at the
residence.
house.
Okay.
I was in the area, maybe out by the street.
Okay. Were you aware that there were two big dogs that lived there too?
I knew there were some animals there.
Okay. Okay. And, okay, that's it, Judge. That's all I have.
All right, and redirect. All right, thanks, sir. You sit down. Free to stay in the court, we're free to go.
Excuse me.
You can go.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Take your water with you. Thank you. Who's next?
Your Honor, that would be Tatiana Cochran with the TBI, who's also processing the scene.
And how long do you think that person will take?
Probably shorter than this one, but comparable because it is going through a scene processing. Fewer physical pictures and fewer physical exhibits would be. Well, no physical exhibits, all pictures.
This really isn't a democracy, it's kind of, I'm in charge, but do y'all want to hear another witness today, or do y'all want to, head shaking yes, okay. Take another witness then.
And we're happy to do that, Judge. Do want to check because it is a little lengthier one if they want to break after that, if you might need to stop
Everybody
and break.
okay? Okay, we're all good.
All right.
Superstars, very good. Ma'am, if you'll step up here next to me, please. You'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. If you have a seat, if you'll please state your name, first and last name, and spell them both for me, please.
My name is Tatiana Cochran, formerly known as Tatiana Smith, and my first name is spelled Tatiana, last name Cochrane.
Thank you. And questions from the state?
Thank you, Your Honor. That is a really good transition for me. You said formerly known as Tatiana Smith. So
Yes.
anything that you wrote your name on would probably be initial TS
Correct.
at that point, or any reports you did would have been Tatiana Smith at that point?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Can you tell us who you work for?
I work for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation
And how long have you been with TBI?
for about 6 years.
And what is your job title and job description there?
I'm a special agent forensic scientist in the forensic biology unit, and I'm also a team leader with the Violent Crime Response Team, or VCRT for short.
So what's the VCRT?
That is a team of forensic scientists that will go out to scenes to perform crime scene investigation. So that would be for the collection, documentation, and preservation of evidence.
And were you working in that capacity in August of 2020?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell me about the training and experience you have to be able to perform that particular job?
I have a bachelor's degree in forensic science, and I also went through an extensive training. It was a 6-week-long training with the TBI. Essentially, the training was going through practical and theoretical exercises of how to process a scene on various disciplines. At the end, I took a written examination to pass. Also, I had to process a mock crime scene and then have a mock trial.
Could you walk us through when you're called out to respond to a crime scene in general? What are the steps you take and the procedures you go through?
So in general, when we get called out, we assemble the team and then get the vehicle and then go straight to the scene, where at that point, we meet with the agent in charge and then get a briefing of what allegedly happened, what are we looking for, and then start processing the scene.
So is that what happened on this event, that you received a briefing when you arrived on scene?
Yes, it was.
And does the information in that briefing affect how you perform your duties on any given scene?
That depends on the information. The information can help us identify what exactly are we looking for. For this particular scene, we were looking for blood, so that does change from scene to scene, what we're looking for and what we're testing for.
Now, could you walk us through, because again, a lot of people have seen CSI and some people are not watching TV at all, so people may have an idea or an expectation, and people may not know anything. So for all us lay folks, when you're going and looking for blood, how do you begin to approach that on a scene?
So first, processing the scene, and when we get there, we need to photograph the scene as is before any processing is done. Once that was taken care of, then we move on to test for blood. So on the blood portion of it, we will first start with visual examination. So anything that we can see that may be blood, then we'll test it for it. There's a chemical color change test that we use at the scene called TMBP. And if that turns positive, at that point, we will collect that sample with a wet and dry swab and then submit it for DNA analysis. If there is no visual staining that may be blood, or if we're looking for perhaps something that may be trace amounts of blood or cleaned up blood, we'll use another type of chemical called Blue Star. And that chemical, it's also a color change, but what it will happen is that if blood is present, then it will glow in the dark. So that way we will know where the stain is at, then we will further process with the TMBP. And if it turns positive, then we'll collect that sample and submit it for DNA analysis.
Now, you've talked a couple of times now about if something is blood. Does everything that you initially believe could be blood turn out to be blood?
No.
And so what do you do when you find something, either with the initial chemical or with the Blue Star, to make any determinations on whether that is a substance that could contain blood or DNA?
With the Blue Star, if it turns positive, not only blood, but other things can turn positive, we will follow up with another test, the TMBP. And then at that point, if it turns positive as well, then we'll collect it. If it does not turn positive, then we'll just document that it was negative and not collected.
So when you find something and you collect it, could you walk us through the process of how that works to collect these things that, you know, luminesce or test presumptively kind of positive for things?
If it's an item that we can easily pick up and submit the item itself, we'll do that. If not, then we'll swab it. We'll use a wet and dry swab to collect that stain, put it in a swab pack, seal it, and then submit it to the laboratory for testing.
Now, in this particular case, were you doing physical collection of evidence, or were you doing swabs?
A little bit of both. Most of what we collected was swabs. So once I test the swab and it's positive, then I will be the one putting it in the swab pack and sealing it, and that will be the collection itself.
And so is this something you consider a team approach where you're working with the Oak Ridge officers who are also collecting evidence?
They process the scene first. When the VCRT team comes in, then we work as a team, but usually among ourselves.
Okay. So in this case, you did do a number of swabs and seal them up yourself, correct?
That is correct.
Is it possible to swab every single surface area of a location or a crime scene, and why or why not?
No, not really. A lot of things can turn, so we'll take a sampling of that scene and further process it. But unless we swab every little inch of a wall or floor or ceiling, it's not ideal to process every single thing. We do tend to cluster in areas, so if we're in one room of the house, we'll try to swab as much as we can.
Does every swab end up yielding results that show that it was positive for blood or other substance?
No.
Are there any drawbacks to using things like Blue Star and things? Do they have any effect on the evidence itself?
Yes, so Blue Star is great to localize an area that you cannot see with your naked eye. However, because it does contain water, it can also dilute that sample. And that won't be enough sample to go through the DNA process and actually obtain a result. The chemical itself is also known to start degrading the DNA and then cause issues also obtaining a result.
On CSI and TV shows like that, they kind of make it look like if a crime happened at any time in the past and there was blood there at any point, that it's going to show up with these Blue Star with like black light techniques. Is it an infinite amount of time that if blood was there that would bioluminesce or give some presumptive indication, or would things affect that availability over time?
I wish it was like that, but no. It can last for a very long time and still react, but depending on the stain itself and if it got mixed with other things, it can start essentially damaging what we're trying to test in blood. And it may not trigger, and it may something that is very old as well. It's really dependent on the scenario and what that particular stain has been introduced to. What are the factors around it?
And would time be one of those factors that could adversely affect the availability of collecting that evidence?
Yes, because it would be introduced to more outside factors that could break down the activity of what's there.
Are you able to test for any and all substances? Some people, I've used CSI several times, but there's NCIS where they will put something into a Thingamatron 3000 and it will tell them where it was manufactured, what factory does it, all that. Is that how testing works when you're doing these things, that you can test for all known substances on the planet?
No, it's very specific of what we can test, and not only on the field, but in the laboratory as well. There is no machine that we can put one thing and gives us various different amounts of information. It's very specific to what we're looking for.
So here's an example. Do you collect hair?
Yes,
Is the TBI lab able to process and analyze hair samples?
no, we do not perform analysis on hairs.
Yeah, but it is something that is collected as a processing of a scene if you have that there.
Yes, because that can still be sent to another laboratory that has the technology to perform analysis.
Okay. So on this scene, you talk about your processing of it, and we've heard from another officer about his process for documenting a scene. Could you walk us through how you document a scene that you're walking through and you're going to do your swabs and collection?
The first thing is to describe the outside of the scene. Our documentation is a combination of photographs and also handwritten notes. How the house looks, is it a house, is it a car, is it an apartment, doors, windows, are they open, are they closed, were there people inside the residence before us, what is the overall condition of the scene? And then we start narrowing down the areas in which we need to test based on the briefing of what allegedly happened. And at that point, we'll start documenting what we see. And once we start the testing, then it gets a little bit more narrowed down to, this is the area I'm testing, this is the stain. We'll assign numbers called markers to each stain. And then if it's positive, we'll collect it. And if it's negative, we don't. Move on to the next one. And we also measure that if the whole house is in play, then we would measure the entire house, inside, outside. If there's very particular rooms that are involved, then we can do only the rooms themselves instead of the entire place.
If there were bleach or chemical agents, cleaning agents, is that information you want to know?
Yes, because Blue Star, that can react with bleach. So it does react a little bit differently. However, it does react. A positive is considered a positive. And then we would continue testing with the other testing.
And would use of those things like bleach affect the availability of actual biological evidence?
Yes, that would damage the DNA.
Okay, on this particular case, so you did your walkthrough, and did you document that with photographs?
I did.
Have you viewed those photographs from your examination and investigation into the house, or this apartment at 318 Fairview?
Yes, I did.
With your permission, please, would like to publish those. I would like to review. You take a number of swabs. Some of those swabs will end up yielding evidence, correct?
Correct.
And some of those swabs do not yield evidence.
That's correct.
And if you could narrate for us what's going on as you're giving us the tour of your processing of this crime scene.
Okay. So this is a photo of the outside from the street. It's a street view, so you can see the side of the house. Then a little bit further back to show not only the house itself, but the surrounding areas. That is closing in on the numbers of the residents and also the showing the overlapping image to show the front and also a little bit of the side view. That is zooming in on all the numbers, the house numbers of that property. And then this is just a back, so again, to now I'm at a different view, I'm parallel to the house. That is me zooming in, getting to the door. And then that shows on the outside, Oak Ridge PD had already started processing the scene, so they had their staging area on the porch. And then it also shows that the door was open and there was a stairs to the upstairs. That's just a higher elevation to show what's on the top. That is zooming in to show that the residence that I'm about to process is 318. And then at this point, I'm going into the house, so I start taking photos of my way in. And that's again the stairs before I actually make into the house. So this is the living room, and overall of the living room will be a series of pictures that is 4 corners. So I will take pictures of it I will actually stand on each corner of the room so that I can get a full 360 of what the room looks like. So that's just zooming in into that living room. This is me in a corner beside the fireplace and pointing at the entrance of the kitchen. Now I'm at the entrance of the kitchen with the picture outward. So it shows the entrance of the residence and also the stairs. There was a closet in the corner that was difficult to get from the other picture, so I took another picture just to show that there was a closet and stuff in front of the closet as well. And that's just the upper part of the closet. That's the other corner that I'm taking pictures from now. And that is just showing where I was standing before in the left side of the fireplace. And then just going around to make my 360 of the room. And that's just another picture of pointing down so that you can see what is also what I'm seeing in my eye level, but also on the floor. And then the next pictures are gonna be me going up the stairs. And that's just showing from floor to ceiling pictures. That is right at the top of the stairway. When I look to my left, this is what I see. There is a bedroom to the left, and then there is a bedroom straight up, and that's the one that has the door showing that it's open with a mattress halfway down. That room is not involved, so we did not go into it. We went to the room that was to the left, and that was pictures of me. Because of positioning, I couldn't take a full picture from floor to ceiling, so I took pictures of the floor, and then I'm gonna move up and show the remaining of the room as I view it from the outside. That is me standing in front of the other bedroom with the mattress, just looking back at the stairway. And then this is me working into the bedroom now. I'm trying to take pictures of the walls on my way in. And then, again, it's showing everything that is on my way from that view. And that's the upper portion. I couldn't get everything in one picture. That's from the other corner, seeing what I see looking straight up at the bed. And then I go around. Now I'm in the other side of the bed and going around to show that view. And this is to show the entryway where we have the dresser, and there's also a mini fridge in there. And those are our supplies. After the briefing that we get, we do a walkthrough. So that is, we walk without taking any documentation yet. We're just trying to assess the scene. Are there anything that is in the way that we may kick and we need to collect it first? Are there any stains that we need to preserve before walking through the scene? So while we did a walkthrough, I went outside to start the overall photographs, and the team leader at the time started bringing our chemicals up to the bedroom so that we could start testing. So that's the view to the fridge that was in the closet. And that's just showing that there are other things in the closet as well. So now I'm just getting closer to it to take a better picture of the entirety of the fridge. And that marker was also already placed by Oak Ridge PD. So this is a picture of the inside of the fridge as is, so before any testing occurred. This is just a different angle showing the inside of the fridge. That is the tag, so that is something that we would call it identifier, so that if we need to find out, do we have the same fridge, what type of fridge is it, that's just information on the fridge itself, so we tend to take pictures of it. And just showing the shelving, and this is more of a medium range, so now that we know that we're dealing with the fridge, and the fridge is open, we're now seeing stains that we want to show more or less where they're located from a medium view, if you will. Then we're going to start closing in on those stains. That's a hair that was on the arm of one of the arms of the fridge. That's just another better picture, more in focus. And we're showing at the bottom that the next picture is gonna be something that was at the bottom, so you know where it's coming from. And that's just showing that there's some staining at the bottom. There's a hair in that corner where it's very shiny.
And if there's anything that you feel like you need to point out, we have a pointer and you can step down.
If you want me to,
I can
that's,
see the hair here.
Okay.
They may have issues if you want to, there's a pointer. I'll provide this to you. I saw some squinting on the other side. That telescopes.
so, hi-
It's not a laser pointer, you'll actually have to stand up, it telescopes.
oh, okay, so you want me to just go up there? So this is the hair and the shiny portion. So that hair was also collected as evidence. That is another hair, so we're dealing with possibly human, and there's also a dog at the scene. We're not sure what is a dog hair and human hair at this point, so we're just collecting whatever the hair is in case if they do want further testing on it. And this is another one, and you can see there's like very smaller, finer hairs, and then there's this long one over here, and then there's more up here. This is just showing a different view from more far. This is still the arms of.
If you could speak up when you're driving anything, because the microphone's over to Kevin and the court reporter.
So at this point, these are the arms of the shelving on the side of the door of the fridge. So you can see there's one here, one here, one here. So this is one of the shelvings that have, again, hairs all over. And that's just a close-up of the hairs that we could see. And some more hairs. And now we're getting to the staging. So this part over here is where we have the grill that goes like the actual shelving in the fridge, and the parts on the side of the fridge that holds the shelving in place. So this is where the stains are coming from. And that's just more staining. And then more over there. So there are various shelving that we're putting that has all on the same side that has these types of staining. So now we started marking these stains so that we could start testing. So these stains are very small. They're almost like needle-like point. So we circle, or I circle at this point, and assign those stains in this area here, 12, this area here, 13, and then over here, it takes all of this top, as you can see, goes all the way up here. This is all 10. And 11, if you're looking at the fridge, is going to be on the right side. And from afar, you can see these are the shelves that have the staining. As you can see, some over here. There's some over here as well, and here. This is all considered stain 11. And that's just to show how small some of the staining were. And then this is the bottom drawer, so this is to the left of it. And there's some staining that goes from the inside to the outside of the fridge. And here, there's some hairs here, but there's also some staining, very small, on the shelvings. And then here, it's just to show again a different view of the picture with those numbers, and also now 11, that is the staining on the right side of the fridge. 12, over here, this is one spot, this is a different spot. Over here, there's also a tiny little spot. So they're very small and spatter-like in some of this staining, and some are more like of a smear. And that's how tiny it was. And all of these little ones over here too, this is all consistent with this type of stain. And down at the bottom as well, over here, here, and all these little dots over here. And that's just a close-up of the same dots. And And that's just a different angle of that, the bottom drawer. And then now I'm coming out so you can see where the staining was, and then out to have a better idea of where it was located. And that's at the bottom, this is the drawer, and then this is pretty much coming outside. As you can see here, it's the outside and the bottom of the fridge. And there's hair, but there's also staining all around. Now, on the right side, on those shelvings there was a different picture with an angle that showed several different shelves. So these were also assigned different numbers. So this is 6, 7, 8, and 9 is the very last one. And that's a close-up of the stain number 6. And that's just a different angle because it was on the side and also on top. And then the overall, there's also more staining all around here, but this was the stain that was more concentrated and they look very consistent with each other. So in this case, I circled the heavier and the more staining present, and I chose that to be the area which I'm testing. And that's number 7. And again, if you can see here, there's some more staining aside from here, but this one looked heavier and more staining present, so that's the area that I chose to circle it and test it. And that's just a different view from the top. And then I'm coming out again to show all the staining together and also 9 at the bottom. And this is closing in on the 9th, so you have an idea of where the pictures of the staining are coming from. That was 8, some staining here, but again, I took this area here because it was heavier on the staining itself. And as you can see, there's like a little bit of like over here, and a lot of dots over here. They're a lot heavier than the other ones. And then 9, it's the last shelving. And for 9, I started processing it on this side over here. So that's the only actual area that I tested. And that's just a close-up of it. And then 10 is, so looking in the fridge, it's kind of like on the top. So this entire area here had smears and a lot of the smaller dots, and they were pretty heavy. So I called the entire consistent with one stain, and I called it 10. And that's just a little bit of a close-up. Just different angles. They were very small, so very difficult to see as well in the pictures. So the different lighting, we were trying to take it at different angles at this point to try to get those dots to really show up on the pictures. So this is showing what side is 11 in comparison with the entire fridge now. And then there's this staining up here, and then the ones that were down in the arms inside of the fridge. And those are just like close-up of all of the stains to have a better idea and see how much or how heavy the staining was. So those are just different angles, just showing how some of them are a little bit more smeared as opposed to dotted. Now we're back to downstairs. So the kitchen is about right here. And this is that closet that I couldn't see on the other angles. So inside the closet, it had a stain right there. So that stain got assigned a number, and then it was also further tested. And that's just a close-up of it. So now to the right of the fireplace, some of these were already marked on the visual before we started doing the Blue Star. These were visible, so we started marking all of the areas in which we wanted to test without even introducing Blue Star to it. So we circled the stains, and then all the stains that were positive, we assigned a number so that we could collect. And then the ones that were not positive, we X'd them out. So this is why there's an X here, an X there, and there's also an X down here. So those stains were not positive. And that's just showing me up close of that 16 stain. That's back to the door in the closet. That's an overall view of, again, those same stains. That's just at a different angle, so it shows a little bit of a different lighting. And then those shoes were talked about that possibly could have been stepped on blood. We collected the shoes, however, we did not test it at the scene. So when there's items that we can easily collect and take it to the lab, we'll prefer to do that, because if anything happens during the testing, you have the item itself and you can retest it, as opposed to swabbing it, leaving it, and then you can't retest again if something goes wrong.
As part of your processing of a scene, do you check what items and put initials by it if it's swabs you collected? And is that part of the tracking system you do for the lab?
So typically when we're at a scene, we'll work as a team. So if I'm the one doing the testing and the swabbing, to not introduce contamination, somebody else will be writing them down. But we write down the time that something was collected and also who it was collected by. So at that time, because I was known as Tatiana Smith, my initials were TS. So everything that I tested will say that it was tested, either positive or negative, and then TS, and then the time. And something that I collected, it will follow the same way. So the area will be described, then the date, the time, and then by whom, and that will be TS.
And is that compiled in a report that also goes to the forensic scientist who's going to be actually processing and analyzing the information?
That is correct. The team leader will compose all of that together and then write up a report.
May I approach? For identification purposes, do you recognize this report?
Yes, I do.
Is that the report that you just described of the swabs that were taken, who took them, and the processing?
That is correct. That's the
Submission
Clemson
of-
report.
Submission of the items for testing,
Yes.
additional testing. I'd like that marked as identification only right now.
I think it's going to be a big
It's identification 13. I pass this witness, Your Honor.
I don't have any questions, Judge. I don't have any questions.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You can step down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that completes our work for the day. You can leave your notepads in your chairs there. My understanding is that you have reservations for dinner at 6, so hopefully that'll be a pleasant experience for you. I don't know where you're going, so hope it's good for you. But I appreciate y'all's efforts today. We'll start back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the morning again, and hope y'all have a good night's rest. Everybody rise, please. Y'all have a nice evening. Think you had a seat?
With your permission, Your Honor, we'd like to remove the freezer and put that back into
Sure.
storage.
Is there anything we need to take care of or anticipate issues tomorrow or anything like that from the state?
No, I don't think so, Judge.
You think